So a failed Iranian asylum seeker who should have been removed from the UK years ago is due to be sentenced today for the brutal killing of an elderly woman who'd given him a home. The 34-year-old is due to be sentenced later today at Leeds Crown Court. With more details of this horrific case, our Home Security editor Mark White joins me now. This is a really shocking story, Mark. What happened?
It's horrific. This individual, 34-year-old Shahin Darvish-Narenjbon, he was taken in by an 88-year-old woman called Brenda Blainey in the village of Thornton-le-Dale, which is in North Yorkshire, up towards Scarborough there. He'd befriended her. He worked in a restaurant in Leeds. And they kind of formed almost like a grandmother-grandson type relationship over a number of years. And she eventually invited him to her home, gave him a room, but he was paranoid schizophrenic, according to the medical evidence in court. And in January of last year, the 5th of January, he killed this old woman, he said, because of voices in his head telling him to do that. She had been on the phone, this woman, to a local shop to order some food to be delivered. When the line went dead, the worried shopkeeper had called back a dozen times to try to make contact with her again. It's at that point, obviously, the police believe that she'd been killed. She was strangled, her head smashed against the kitchen wall. She was stabbed repeatedly in the chest, and her throat was cut. It's absolutely horrific. But as horrific as the crime is, what is really, really concerning about this case is the fact that this man was a failed asylum seeker. He'd come to the UK in 2005 as a 15-year-old to study. His permission to remain in the UK ran out in 2015. So he then went on, as so many people do, to claim asylum and try to stay in the country that way. But I'm told that all of his appeals were exhausted by 2017. Yet, despite the fact that all those appeals were exhausted, for 5 more years, Home Office officials did not remove this man from the UK. He should never have been here in the first place. And clearly he went on to kill this frail elderly woman who, by all accounts, was, you know, a very lovely, kind-hearted individual that just wanted to do the right thing, yeah.
What a tragic story. And actually, it just shows, I think, for me as well, how raising awareness of the problems of illegal immigrants, because nobody has won in that situation. He certainly hasn't won. She hasn't won. The system hasn't won. The prison service, which will now be paying for his incarceration, hasn't won. And that's why it's important, isn't it, that we stop these small boats?
Yes,
I mean, did he come? Do we know if he came over on a small boat as 15?
No, I think he came here legitimately to study, but then obviously stayed on longer than he should have, and when he was found out, then tried to claim asylum. That's how lots of people who enter the country, it's not just about coming across in small boats. People come across on student visas, on holidays, you know, short working visas, and they stay on and they become in essence, illegal immigrants that way. And of course, often then when they're found out, they will go on to claim asylum as a way of trying to game the system, of trying to stay in the country. That's what happened in the case of this particular Iranian man. And listen, you know, lots of people born and bred in this country go on to commit criminal offences and to kill people. That happens.
Yes.
But the fact of this man is that, you know, he should never have been here and able to carry out this crime. He should have been removed 5 years before he then went on to kill this elderly woman.
Yeah, because also, and I don't mean this is to make excuses, but he was living in a sort of torturous mental limbo, not knowing what his future was going to hold, and therefore, had he been sent back to his original country of origin earlier to get settled, to resettle himself, well, this woman would still be alive.
Yeah, I mean, there was medical evidence in court that pointed to, you know, a life of problems in terms of his mental health. He had psychotic episodes. At one point, he was in the United States and was in an institution there for a while, dealing with his mental health issues. So clearly he had problems, and you can argue about his level of culpability in the actual crime. That's not the point. The scandal here is that, you know, why on earth in this system that the government admits clearly is a broken asylum system, are people still 5 years after they've exhausted all avenues of appeal still here? Sources have told me, official sources, that if we had the Rwanda plan, problem solved, he could have been sent off to Rwanda for processing. Even if there was an issue about returning him to Iran, that wouldn't have been an issue. You could do it with Rwanda. Well, Rwanda's not going anywhere fast. It's mired in the legal challenges in the court. So that's a moot point.